I'm Renee Richel, the founder and president of One True Match. I'm here to help you find and cultivate the love of your life. For over a decade, I've dedicated my life to the importance, purpose, and dynamic of human relationships. My team and I are disciplined by faith, love, and integrity to help our clients find the quality relationship they've always dreamt of. Each week, I will be sharing the tools and tips I've learned that have rooted my success as a matchmaker with other leaders around the world.
Hello, loves. Happy almost New Year. We are so excited to actually be sitting on two different sides of the world today. Well, Connie is back home celebrating with her family and ringing in the new year prior to us, obviously. But we hope you had a very, very Merry Christmas and still in the Christmas season of celebrating Jesus and his birth. And we hope that you had a wonderful time with family and friends. And we're excited to talk about the new year and all things that are going to come in 2024. So welcome, Connie. We're so excited that you could join us from a distance.
I know it's a little different this podcast. I don't think I've ever actually done one on this side of the world, but I'm sure all our lovely clients listening know that I do visit from time to time, or also search over here. So it's good to be home and definitely have my eyes peeled for our international clients, which is always fun. And yeah, it's good to be back. And I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and had quality time with their family and friends or whoever it may be, and are ready for a fresh start in 2024.
Perfect. So let's dive into it because we have a lot of tips that we feel over the last year. We all sat down and said, what are some things that we can share with individuals that help to encourage them when it comes to all things related to relationships? Because, we do talk to obviously the single, dating, engaged, and married couples. So this advice we hope is good and helpful for each and every one of you. So I feel like the number one this year was, we say it all the time, right? But this year I feel like we've said it, we need to put like a bumper sticker out there or something, right? For everybody to read.
Yeah.
But number one across the board that we have been stating over and over again is for you to get out of your own way. And it sounds harsh and it maybe sounds a little bit like, what? Are you kidding? But I mean, I think ultimately, it is tough love, right? So we're just going to start out of the gate right with that because it's so important that so many times we see clients or we see relationships, crumble or have challenges, or even when it comes to waiting to meet that right person or choosing that individual, right? It's that we get in our own head, which allows us to get in our own way, that we're not able to really be open. When it comes to relationships, it takes two people, right? So you have to also be open to receive what it is you're actually looking for as well. And I know Connie can talk on this too, is how many times do we kind of either put our foot in our mouth?
Yeah, and I think any client that does listen to this, they're going to be like, oh, Connie says this all the time, because it really is a hard thing to do, is getting out of our own way. When, especially if they're, any of our singles who have been single for maybe, longer than they expected or many years. There's so many people that come to us, or, people who do reach out to matchmakers that have been single for, multiple years, several years, maybe even, widowed or things like that. And I think that's the hardest time, when to kind of get out of your way. You're so stuck in your lane and kind of forget about that negotiation, and that when you do have a partner, it's really about that. You have to be equal on things. You have to make sure your communication's thriving. And, I'll say that over and over. And it looks like I'm going into 2024 saying that as my repeat line. That communication is everything. But that's the thing, is that you just really need to make sure that there's negotiation and you're not too stuck in your own way, because if that is the case, you're never going to be it's never going to be fair to your partner either, whoever you may meet. And it's constantly your way or no way, or your way or the highway, like people like to say. It just really becomes unfair and becomes a big toll. And especially if you're single and out there dating, someone will pick up on those traits really, really quickly. So one thing we always suggest is spend that time with you. Make sure that you are aware of, hey, I'd like this way, but I need to negotiate a little bit on this. I mean, I know that's something that I think all of us for our whole entire life have to work on. So that's just one thing thing going into the new year that I think is really, really important. And say you are in a married couple or, I don't know, long-term relationship, I would even circle back around and make sure that you aren't just continuously doing this, because it's a very easy trait to just keep doing no matter what.
Right. And I think so many times too, we also hear, from clients and just in general matches where it's like we also psych ourselves out and we put so much pressure on, a connection or a conversation when ultimately we always say, look at it as a couch talk conversation, right? Where you're just like
Yeah.
talking to somebody, you're plugging in. And so on the flip side of it, we also say like you psych yourself out sometimes by getting in your own head and in your own way to be able to just remember this person is normal and just the same as you and has feelings just like you. You put your pants on the same way every day, right? All of us are equal in that regards. And so go into things completely open-minded without also, saying, well, I might not be good enough for this person or they deserve better, da, 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 da. And people psych themselves out too by getting in their own way in that regard. So
Yeah.
definitely keep an
Yeah,
open
definitely.
mind,
And I think, oh,
give people
sorry.
chances. 2024, there's definitely a delay. Do our best today.
Yeah, no, and one thing I just kind of bouncing off what you just said about people kind of, jumping the gun or saying, this might not be the person. You don't have to go into dating, and we'll say this over, knowing that you're going to marry that person straight away. And I think that kind of links to someone being stuck in their own way as well, because sometimes people think, I've seen this on a movie, I've seen this Disneyland. I'm using Renee's thing now, using this like how everything's perfect, but I think that's one thing to remind you, even if you are stuck in your own way as well, is not to not to think that everything has to be perfect and sunshine and rainbows, because let's be honest, we don't live in a perfect world either. So it's definitely something that we should all take a step back and either work on, or definitely reach out to us if you have any questions of ways to either get out of getting out of your own way, should we say.
Right, right. Okay, so that we can get to all of these because I feel like we've all written down a huge list. We couldn't even decide on our top like 10 or 11 that we're going to share with you today. But another one, and I know everybody seems to put this on their list. It feels like, every year people start to work out and do all these things. But our tip or advice when we tell clients or just in general matches or just people that are like, maybe feeling not their sexiest or whatever it is or their best. And it kind of boils down to, well, are you working out? What are you doing? Right. And I think so many times
Oh
people
yeah.
work out because they feel they need to lose weight. So I don't know if we're changing it up or making you think a different way, but that's kind of our goal here is to like
Yeah.
work out to feel good and be healthy. Don't work out to try to be thinner, because a lot of times that pressure that you put on yourself and people don't keep those goals, right? Because of that exact detail. So we always tell everybody we want to have people be in a long lasting relationship. And the way to do that is to be healthy. There is a reason why when you're a little kid, they make you take PE, physical ed, right? Or whatever. It's gym class.
Yeah.
And you have to remember they do that to equip our minds and bodies to carry that on through life. So if you've gotten a little bit lazy over the last several years or whatever it is, maybe the reason why you're also not ready for true love is because your body, which is your most important God-given temple that God has given you, right? Tool. It's so important that we're also working out not just our brain, but our body to be healthy, right?
Oh, that's literally going into the new year when I hear people, or, so many people will say, well, in the new year, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. I'm like, how about in the new year, I'm going to be healthy? Because that, like Renee said, that's our body fuels us through life. And if we don't take good care of it, and just when it does come back to the dating, it's don't wait until now to wait, or don't wait until you have a partner. For any of our singles, don't wait until you have a partner to get healthy. Start working out, being healthy, fueling your body with the right nutrition, because that's super important, instead of focusing on that mindset of losing weight. Because so it's like known that if you're just focusing on losing weight, you tend to actually not lose it. Like there's so many times that people are like, oh, I'm so focused on losing it, and this week I've lost nothing. If you just focus on being healthy and fueling your body with the best nutrition you can, I think it's always surprising of what it does. And keeping that mentality really helps you mentally as well, instead of on the thought of being thin and fit and all of that.
And even if it's just going on a walk, I mean, if you're single and you have a neighbor and they have a dog and you don't, go volunteer to walk the dog so you feel like you're not alone, right? I mean, I'm famous for always not wanting to do anything alone. I feel like everybody's like, anytime you come somewhere, you're going to come with 5 or 10 people, right? Because I just don't like to do anything alone. So if you're truly an extrovert, go borrow a dog. Or if you're just somebody that needs time to yourself, do a walk, do something that is getting your heartbeat up and moving so your body continues to stay young, fit, and youthful, right? That is the most important detail when it comes to working out, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think that it's like if once you get the swing of it, everyone says, "What is it? Is it 30 days or it might even be 60 days, or somewhere in between." I'm not coming with the facts here. No one fact
Where's
check me
our
on this.
fitness guys that are gals and guys and trainers that need to chime in here?
Yeah, exactly. But it says once something becomes a habit, and like even the British Heart Foundation, the US Heart Association says 10,000 steps a day, and you'll be surprised at how many little you do, or how easy it is that when you start doing that 10,000 a day, how easy it is to get there. So just start off with small goals, I say, and like not preaching everyone to go out there stepping, but now Renee, Renee mentioned walking. It's just the easiest form of exercise to keep you healthy, and it's like guided for all of us to be doing. And it's 10,000 steps, I think, approximately 3 miles a day. But by the time you run up and down, if you have kids running up and down the stairs, if you're in the office, it's back and forth. So you quickly knock those out. So definitely just keep that mentality. And if you're going into dating, and you're talking about either losing weight, getting fitter, I would also use the phrase, yeah, I'm just, focusing on my health and, that a little further instead of I'm here to lose weight, I'm, getting thinner, because it definitely brings a lot of negativity around those words.
I totally agree. And since we're talking about our body, let's go into the also mental side of things, right? Like, and I'm kind of skipping around because I feel like it's just a flow of how we're going to be doing this, but it
Yeah.
is so, so important who you surround yourself around. And also what you do mentally, just like we talked about getting out of your own way, to stopping around people that gossip or in just general gossiping, period. So we all have our dear friends and family that want to know the latest and we love it, right? But if you have friends that are, let's say you're single and you're in the dating world now, that are married, you are their form of entertainment, right? So they want to hear
Mm.
all the details, right? Because they're married and they want to live vicariously through you. And just like also they love you, so they want to help and support you. The problem is that we see over and over and over again in our industry, we're always like, tell your friends and family if you feel compelled to, that you're working with us because we love that. We love the support of friends and family. But then sometimes they can also be very opinionated because they're
Yeah.
protecting you, which is important, but they also don't hear the other side of the story. So many times, again, we also say is don't like gossip to your friends about somebody because ultimately, if you have nothing nice to say about somebody, don't say something, right? There is somebody for everybody out there, and God has made us, thank God, uniquely all different. But look at it more as
Yes.
something that we learn from it and stay away from those people that just thrive on gossip because ultimately that's not healthy for your own psyche or and going forward for what the Lord does have planned.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's so easy as well, like going into the dating world when you have types, and there's kind of maybe a type of person that you go to like lean toward. Your family is going to be like, oh, that person isn't as tall as I'd hoped. Your friends might say, oh, it sounds terrible, but he might have a bigger nose than I think. Or like we'll pick out flaws just generally out of gossip. And it's not maliciously by all means, but that's why oversharing is sometimes just not the best, form of thing to do to also protect yourself. And like Renee said, I mean, the one thing we should always be doing it right is protecting our mental health and our psyche. um but it's just really be very careful when you're either in the dating world or even in a married couple. I always say, keep your business to yourself sometimes, because when people overshare, it gets escalated, you get more heated about things. Like the main thing, and I'm going to say it again, but is communication. communication, and whoever that may be with, whether it's friends, family, partners, or someone you're married to. It's just really important that you keep that communication up, and you don't have to have communication regarding your personal or your own journey with everyone else either.
Right, which is so true. And tying into that, one of the ways of being a good communicator is to also self, what I call like meditational prayer, right? So, a couple of times a year, typically quarterly, I will, go into just a place where it's like, I just want to dive into my soul. I want to understand why I feel the way that I do. I want to be able to, explain this to somebody. I want to be able to be the best that I can be for our team, right? For our loved ones. That it's so important. If you've never done this before, there are people out there that will help even guide you in meditational prayer, or these are things that you can look up online to find of ways to really be able to focus on what's most important to you, because so many times we pray for everything and everybody else, right? But we really forget to also listen to our own minds, to really be
Yeah.
able to speak into others what it is we really need and feel, and then seek out those things that the Lord puts in front of you with the right people at the right time, and learn more about yourself always, constantly. So we
Yeah. And
say
it's
there's, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I mean, there's so many different things to do, right? But it's just mentally so important that you're balanced with your mind, and where it is you really, where you've been in life, like reflection with prayer and conversation. There's no better listener than God.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's so easy to also focus on everyone else. I mean, me and Renee are pretty professional at this, and it's something that we work on a lot still, is making sure that you do make that time for yourself. And like Renee said, whether it's once every, 4 quarters, once every quarter, 4 times a year, or it's once a month. And I know that we tell everyone about, personality tests, love languages, like taking those times to dive back into yourself sometimes just gets put on the back burner because you think, I don't have time for this. I don't, or even, taking that time for prayer and stuff. And you may have, short prayers or praying for everyone else, but do you really intentionally pray either for yourself or dig deeper into what your life looks like, what your goals are? I always know a fun thing that I've done before is like, mood boards and things like that when it comes into the new year as well, just making sure that you're investing that time in yourself and what's going to go down the path. So even if you aren't starting the year with that kind of, like Renee said, meditational prayer or whatever it may be to you, um, even just put it on like a mood board that you're going to do it in 2 months time, in March, February, something like that. So I think it's really important just to always bring it back to yourself, because you always have to fuel you first to make you a better version for everyone else as well.
Absolutely. And tying into that too is try this as well. Like, and especially us extroverted people, right? But to talk less and listen more. I think so many times, like I know I'm famous for, if nobody's talking, and I'm like, okay, I'll just start bringing up something because it makes me nervous when people aren't talking. But at the end of the day, it is good to have quiet space, right? And if you're somebody that, like, does talk a lot, or you're constantly entertaining, sometimes you're missing the little details too. So when it
Yeah,
comes
and I
to on a date, or it comes to listening to your partner, it's so important when you ask a question, you stop thinking about what they're going to say, or you stop thinking about what you want to say next, and you actually just go question by question and listen in the moment of what they're saying.
Yeah, and I
Because
think
I tell
that's the hardest part, right? Everyone goes into dates, or, say it's with your partner, they go in with kind of the list of either how they feel, questions they want to ask, things like that. And like Renee just mentioned, take a minute to talk, step back and talk. I know that this is something that I practice daily too. If I'm having a conversation with Jeremy that I'm like, oh, this is important to me, I'll be like, here's my point, da 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 da. And then I'm like, hold on, I don't think I asked any of your things. So I have to can't pull myself back and be like, okay, what did you think of this one? What did you think? And it's okay to correct yourself if it's something you're learning too. I mean, none of us are perfect and we'll never be perfect. So it's always good to check ourselves here and make sure that we're listening and just reminding ourselves that, hey, if I am a big talker, then you sit back and you're able to listen too.
Which I think also ties into the next one that I wanted to bring up is to read a book to improve who you are. So, part of being a good communicator, part of knowing yourself, being the best version of who you are, is also to absorb your mind with new information. So, whether it be if you're an avid reader, maybe you read a book a month, right? Or at least maybe if you're not, challenge yourself to do one a quarter in
Yeah.
some area of learning something new so that you can bring it into the relationship. You can bring it into the topic of something to talk about other than just your life story or like heaven forbid if you're somebody that gossips or something like that. It gives you intelligence, it gives you topics to communicate. Obviously it's good for your own just repertoire of vocabulary too in conversations, and it also gives a topic. I love it. My dad always comes over. He's a huge reader. So he's like, okay, so here's a
Mm.
book for you to read. And I'm like, can you give me the highlights? Because I can't read a book every week like you do, right? But it's also, it's just a plethora of knowledge of just things to have in your archive of topics to talk about. And so many times we get people that are like, I want somebody that's interesting. I want somebody that's purposeful. I want somebody that's, motivated, that's driven, and all these things. So, like, what are you doing to mentally challenge your mind to not only read, but also learn? And I know so many of us are so busy. So, we listen to these podcasts while we're getting ready. We listen to, books on Audible, whatever it is, stimulate your mind and also pick up a book every once in a while and read and take notes so that you can go back to it. In that regards, I think is so important to challenge yourself to do in the new year.
Yeah, and I think also do something that maybe you wouldn't expect either, because it always takes you by surprise. I know that I had a friend send me a book about a month ago, and I was like, it's about relationships. Like, I'm sure I've seen it. Actually, funny enough, I've never seen it before. So it
There's a lot
was
of books out there on relationships.
yeah, exactly. But normally I've always like seen it on a advert, or me and you have talked about it or something like that. So
Right.
I thought at first I was immediately like, no, I'm just going to put it to the side. I'm not going to do it. Da 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 da. And then after I was like, why didn't I challenge myself? So that's going to be my first book of 2024.
I love it. Well, and then you're going to
Um,
have to tell us how it is. We might have to start like a book club thing, right? Of the books that we read. That should be one
yeah.
of our, there's so many things coming up in 2024. We're so excited about to build our community and things like that. So maybe Connie will share her book and I will do the same. We'll challenge the whole team, right, to do that. And then share with somebody. It's so important what you read instead of just read it, put it down and never, pass it along. Have somebody else read it.
Yeah, and
Another thing.
I think that's the thing is also, yeah, knowledge in other people. Just like my friend, absolute sweetheart, she had actually read that through couple counseling, I think she'd said. So she was like, oh, I'm doing what you guys do, I think it'd be a good read. So also, if you are learning something out of these like kind of tips and tricks, maybe on this podcast, also share them with other people, because that is, knowledge is everything.
Right. Sharing is caring, as they always say,
Sharing is
right?
definitely caring.
And then another one that I think is really important to do, and maybe you can't do it all day, but I love on Sundays, one of my rules is obviously like to shut down from my phone. So a lot of my friends or people or whatever clients, we always say like we need weekends off too to rejuvenate and recharge just like everybody else does too. But on Sundays are the days that I really try to put my phone down. I don't check email. I will try to not respond to a text or whatever, just so that I have that day that I am not, my phone is not everywhere with me. So whether it be a night or it be a day, even if you have to put on your calendar, I think it is so healthy to just have that time completely unplugged from any type of social media or any type of anything, whether it be sitting and reading a book or whatever it is, but just have that time where you don't have that anxiety or pressure, whatever you want to call it, of checking, did somebody respond to you? What's happening with this? And I'm telling you, it is like the best feeling in the world when you can really be present to
Mhm.
yourself, to your family, to whatever is most important to you, to just refresh your battery. It's almost like plugging yourself in to an outlet
Yeah.
with, your spirit, just who you are. That's so important to start off a new week, is why I do it on a Sunday, every Sunday.
Yeah, and it's hard to get into that. I know that I do it too, and I know that Renee does it. But Renee, I think you can talk for yourself too, is that it was actually hard at the beginning. It's really hard to get into the
It
swing of
is.
doing it because we're so like work and everything of, so much friends will contact on phones, emails, or work is always, especially in the love life, everything, it never stops, right? But I think it's all, even if it's a hard struggle at first and you do listen to this tip, moving forward, it's almost like a diet, once you get, or a routine of working out. It's like once you have gotten past that routine stage and it becomes just part of your daily, it becomes so much easier. So don't give up if you are doing this and then think, oh, the whole I remember the first few times I've done it, every time I was like, oh my gosh, now my emails got 50 emails and everything's burning because I'm not. And then it's like, you know what? No, it's not. And but those first few times, it definitely feels like a big challenge. So if you go into the new year doing this and take this tip, definitely remember it's going to get hard before it gets better, just because we're in such a day
like
and age that
anything
we
worth
need.
it like anything worth it takes hard work, right? So even if you're somebody
Mm.
that you feel like you really need to tell a few of your loved ones, like, hey, I'm unplugging, right? So just don't be worried that, like, don't become knocking on my door thinking that something's wrong. Just, I'm
Yeah.
going to take a Sunday free day, or whatever you want to call it. I have no idea what your choice of words is, but I think you should definitely try that. Another thing that we all talked about, because we're always plugging into our team, because if we're not good for you guys, if we're not good for ourselves, we're not good for, everybody else out there. And it's so important when we're touching and talking to so many people's lives on a daily basis, that we're rested and refreshed ourselves. So we're giving you a lot of tips that obviously we do for ourselves, that we've all had to, be our accountability buddies to do that. But it's so, so important. Every night before I go to bed, I read a daily devotion, that also rests my mind to know that, like, I've done the best that I can today. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up refreshed and recharged. Is to go to bed each night happy. So
Yes.
whatever it is that's like a routine, or maybe you don't have a routine, or something that makes you feel, like we all love, I mean, I always say, like, the feeling of a hotel, right? Because it's
Yeah.
everything is perfect, it's set up. So, those are little things that, like, personally myself at night, I'll do regiments or routine that help me to rest in the day, go to sleep happy, right? So that you can feel you have done the best that you can today, and tomorrow wake up
Yeah.
refreshed to continue on. Because just like Connie said, the emails are still going to be there, everything is going to be there, as long as each day you do the best that you can and challenge yourself. Then each night you
Yeah.
should be able to go to bed feeling happy and at
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah, and do whatever, like Renee said, her daily devotions. I know at the end of a work day, or end of any day, even on weekends, I do it of just like my to-do list. I go into every day with a to-do list, and if I don't finish it, I'll set up a to-do list for tomorrow. So instead of my mind going to bed thinking, oh my goodness, I have this, and this to do, it's so much easier just being like, it's okay. Today was great. I had so much done. I've ticked all these things off, checked, whatever you um checked every. I feel like now I'm back in the UK, I'm using some of my UK slang
You
words
can use
again.
tech,
But
everybody knows what that is now.
yeah, yeah, so if we ever need to change it back. So and then what I do is I just write a list for tomorrow, and for me, mentally, I'm able to go to bed or go spend time with family, my husband, or go on with like maybe other tasks without thinking, oh, I've got this and this to do. And it for me, that's something that makes me happy. So however silly it sounds, like when I say it out loud, I'm like, well, that kind of sounds, a little silly, but to me, that allows me to go spend my night happy and then also go to bed happy. So always, just whatever it may be, if it's something very small, something big, I would just say prioritize your happiness, especially before going to bed.
And the best thing that we have as Christians in our belief is we give it to the Lord. God bless him with all the problems, right? That we dump on him on a daily basis. But let go. I think that's the one thing I do remind myself every night, to be like, he knows I did the best that I possibly can. And so give it to the Lord and then rest. best, right? To
Yeah,
refresh. So I
that's a
love.
really good reminder, just that you did your best too.
Right, right. And I haven't been using the number, so I'm sorry. Tip number 9, because we're going to do 10 today, right? Before, out into your new year, hopefully you're writing all of this down, is write down your goals. Statistics have said 42% of people achieve their goals because they write them down. And like you were talking about earlier, like we do a vision board, we do kind of like a self reflection of our lives, right? So it's in front of our faces. And so it's so important that you are also, whatever these things are we're talking about, which obviously we'll put these in the notes and everything else and go back, and if you're driving right now, write these down. It's so important to put these goals down, to check them, tick them off, whatever you want to say. If you're still like Connie, to actually then set more goals for yourself that are obtainable. Don't set goals that are like so far in the future. Set them realistically that are only going to self improve who you are as a person.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that people go in to the new year with like all these crazy goals. Like it might be something so silly or so little that you think is silly and little, but it's really powerful. I know that one year I wrote down my goal of say yes to every opportunity I get. And I think that was back in, gosh, maybe 2016, maybe even longer. I don't remember. But anyway, that was the year I met my husband. So if I didn't have that as my New Year's resolution or New Year's goal, whatever you want to call them, is basically that wouldn't have happened. And I also did it, of course, only say yes to sensible stuff. I'm not telling you to go crazy and, do anything silly. But that was really powerful to me. I wrote it down, I stuck it on the fridge, I stuck it on my mirror in the bathroom. And anytime I was just like feeling sluggish or didn't fancy doing anything, I'd be like, no, say yes to that. Say yes to meeting new people. Say yes to new opportunities. And it was one of the best years, well, of my life. I guess each year continues to bless me even more. But I thought that's probably been my most memorable goal that I wrote down. And I think it was the first year I actually wrote it in multiple places. And I really just loved it. And it was a constant reminder throughout the year, instead of by the end of January, you being like, oh, I forgot my January 1st goals. So whatever it may be, or even if you're setting these goals on the end of January, write them down and keep it consistent throughout the year. I think that's the hardest thing too, is to also stay on top of these goals. It's so easy to set them and forget about them. So writing them down is always key. And we always say this, whatever you may be praying for, we always say put on sticky notes, pop them around your house or your office or wherever it may be. It's the exact same
Or
with
you're
these
going to see
goals.
it.
Yeah, keep yourself focused is really the main part.
Yeah, I love that. And just like Connie's saying, say yes to new opportunities, say yes to people. If you're somebody that also says yes to everything, on the flip side of that is maybe you say a little few more no's when it comes to overwhelming yourself, right? And killing yourself, right? Because you're somebody
Yeah,
that's
I
always
think my
saying
yeah, I
yes.
think
But
this
I
year
love
mine will be the
you.
opposite.
Right. But I do love that you're saying say yes to new opportunities, because I think so many people, like right from our tip number 1 was get out of your own way. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. There's so many times I'm like, I don't really have time for this. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, oh, but I feel like the Lord is on me about this. I'll go. And then it's
Yeah.
like amazing, the people we meet, the connections we have, the spirit you feel from something you have never done before is so important. So tip number
Yeah,
10, so we
I
don't
always
make this
say,
too.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, finish. Go ahead.
I always say, like, because I did mention about that was the year I met my husband. I know so many of our clients will probably listen to this, or people listening in, they go in with the type I would have, and just like a story of going into the new year, of especially our clients that are maybe, thinking out, oh well, I want to go for this age, just I would have never met my husband if that wasn't my New Year's resolution, because it was not in the type and in the age range that I wanted. So he is in a higher age range than I thought, and look what happened. It only blessed me with so many things. So I think that was just something that popped into my head, just for a reminder for any of our clients that are kind of either stuck on things, or going back to tip 1, stuck in your own way.
Like we even us ourselves as matchmakers who are literally matching people, and our clients will say over and over and over and over again who they ended up falling in love with and and the person fell back in love with them was nobody that they would have ever imagined, but it's so much better than they ever imagined because they got out of their own way. They took an opportunity they said yes to, and the good Lord gave them that spirit, that energy of love and romance. And it's not always or looks like a fairy tale perfect image, right? So at the end of the day, it's about the heart and spirit of who somebody is. So take those risks or take those opportunities that you do have that are presented in front of you and get to know somebody for the core. And tip number 10, that is the most important to remember, is know that you are truly and dearly loved, not only by us, but obviously the Lord and your friends. And so when other people come and attack you or say things, or, you know, if anybody is saying something that is not true, dump it. Let it go. It's just they have their own issues of whatever their problems are that they're internalizing, and they're trying to portray that off to you because it feels better. So also remember that you are dearly, dearly loved. And if you are still waiting for the one to come into your life, they do exist. They are praying for you out there. Remember to pray for them. Remember, if you are in a relationship with somebody, to daily pray for your mate. It is so important. Even people that are married 20, 40, 50 years, right? Like, it's still so important to remember to always pray for your relationship, pray for your mate, your future mate. And by doing all these tips that we just shared and suggested, by the time they come into your life, you will truly be ready. When it takes longer, it's because there's so many other little hurdles, or maybe you're not keeping an open mind, or you're getting in your own way, or you're gossiping too much. And there's all these other things that are happening that you're not prayerfully meditating, or you're not reading, or you're not stimulating your mind, and you're just getting in your own way all the time of why isn't it happening now? Why is it not happening now? And truly, you have to be ready. And that's a big reason why it's not. And you have to take opportunities like us. I mean, we get tons and tons of options, right, for our clients. And it's like, okay, try. These are great people. You just don't know. The goal is to try with the ones that have all the same morals, values, beliefs, and things that are most important to you. And it will all work out the way that it's supposed to. And true love will happen when you're ready to receive it.
100%. I think that's just such a great one to finish on, that you're very loved, and going into this new year, there's definitely always hurdles, right? But remember, you're loved, and it's definitely going to be a good one when we set those goals and set it up for success as well.
And we can't wait to hopefully meet you in the new year. We have so many new opportunities coming up, and we're building our community with our not only single, but also dating, engaged, and married couples over the years, which is really, really fun. So if you have not already gone to our website to subscribe to our newsletter and just upcoming things, please do that. Obviously, go to onetruematch.com, and we've got so many more things to share with you soon. But we hope you have a blessed, safe, joyous, and exciting New Year's Eve. And if you are by yourself, watch the ball drop. It's always my favorite thing to do, and have your own little celebration of you, because if you don't love yourself, how is anybody else going to love you? So do something to pamper you if you don't have plans this New Year's, and make it into an event for yourself, because truly, if you don't do that for yourself, who else is going to want to do that if you're sitting around being woe is me, right? Like, think about your future.
Make every day special, and happy new year. And if anyone has any questions, topics you want to chat about going into this new year, we are all ears to listen to. So we're excited for all the new podcasts and exciting things to come.
We love you, and we're going to leave you, and you mean so much to us. We can't wait for more chats. Bye.
Bye.
It's been another great talk on this episode of One True Talks by Renee Richel. I look forward to our next chat. Please write in your questions and comments so I can be sure to talk about whatever it is you want to discuss in our next upcoming episode. Lots of love. God bless. XOXO.